The pick is in.
17th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Blake Miller, the offensive tackle from Clemson. Locked On NFL Draft is sponsored by Kalshi. Trade draft picks in a live market with no house. Download the app, use code Locked On, and get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi, trade on anything. I am Tenitra Batiste, and I'm joined now by Matt Derry from Locked On Lions. And Matt, the Lions are a franchise that typically leans in the direction of best player available, but feels like this time they actually went with filling a position of need. Did they get it right?
Tenitra, I really like this pick. I'm not going to tell you I love it and doing backflips here, but I truly believe that this franchise needed a stable right tackle to move Penei Sewell to the left side, Taylor Decker now gone, and put somebody in there that is ready to play on a playoff team. And that's exactly what Blake Miller is. This kid played every snap, every down for 4 years at Clemson, started 54 games, reliable, durable, safe, solid. I like this pick. I think they really liked him a lot. And I do believe he kind of does fit the need and was their best player available. So I think all in all, it is a win tonight for the Lions.
Yeah, and you said Coach Dan Campbell kind of alluded to Miller competing for the right tackle position, but you follow this team, you know what that depth chart looks like. Does it feel like to you that in reality, Blake Miller is likely going to be the guy?
It does. I mean, you're not drafting him at 17 for him to sit for a year or wait around, similar to the Rams situation with Simpson at quarterback sitting behind Stafford for a year. Yes, they signed Larry Borum in the offseason to a 1 year, $6 million deal and gave him more money than everybody in Detroit thought. And the way Brad Holmes, the general manager, been talking weeks leading up to the draft, like, hey, we really like Larry and we want to see him out there. But you take Miller at 17, a guy that many projected to be gone in the 20s, goes a little bit earlier than that. You got to believe a guy that started 4 years in college at a very good, school at Clemson. I know they had a down year this year. I truly believe he'll be that guy, and Borum can add a lot of depth, which is something they haven't had across the offensive line the last couple of years. But yeah, the Lions are going to say compete, but I think Blake Miller will be out there week one.
Yeah, because they definitely need that help with the team finishing with the second worst pass block win rate in the NFL last year. So they need someone to hit the ground running. And when you kind of look at what he brings to the table, obviously the NFC North can be arguably considered the most competitive, the toughest division in all of football. And the Detroit Lions had an off year for a team that was expected to compete, to be able to maybe win the division and maybe even get back to that NFC championship game. Does this pick maybe help this team to get one step closer back to where they were?
That's the hope. I mean, Tenitra, you watched this team last year. We all did, and they struggled in protecting Jared Goff and running the football. Second half of last season, I think the last 6 weeks, Jahmyr Gibbs, their all-everything running back, was averaging just over 3 yards a carry. They weren't moving people up front. And to get a guy like Blake Miller, who many people just think is so solid, can pass block, can run block, 6'6.5", 317. And every single week for Dabo Swinney at Clemson, he was out there. He missed 2 practices in 4 years, despite playing through injury. So really stabilizes that offensive line. They went into the offseason. They knew they needed a center in Cade Mays. They needed a tackle at one of the spots with Taylor Decker leaving. Move Sewell to the left. You add Blake Miller. The O-line is definitely better than it was at this time last year.
Yeah, and one thing's for sure as well, while, as you mentioned, Matt, many of the draft boards had Miller being picked somewhere in the 20s, at least the Lions were able to not overstretch themselves or have to do anything to get a guy in at a position where there's definitely a need there. So we appreciate you, Matt, as always, for your time. And of course, for more on the Detroit Lions, subscribe to Locked On Lions wherever you get your podcasts.